Hi everybody. If you don't know me, I'm Alistair Barr from Striver, and what we do at Striver is help young people get amazing career starts their professional life. So, if you haven't seen us already, make sure you go to striver.careers and set up an account. But today, I really want to just have an interactive session with my good friend Cara Williams, who's actually based in Brisbane. So this is the first time we've done this remotely. So hi, Cara, and welcome.
Thanks, Al. Thanks for having
The
me.
weather in Sydney is fantastic today. It always can compare it. It's always good in Brisbane, so I'm not going to talk around that. So we're having a cracking day down here. But so Cara, let's just have a little bit of a start. Tell us a little bit about you.
So at the moment, as Al said, I'm an advisor in Brisbane. I've been in financial advice for about 7 years now. Outside of work, I do crazy challenges. I've done a couple with Alistair, Kokoda, Simpson Desert, but I also do some obstacle course racing. So Monday to Friday, I'm a bit serious in my role. And then on the weekend, I like to get active.
Crazy. And then what's the name of the firm that you're working for now in Brisbane?
So I'm working for a business called Perry O'Ryan, and I'm part of the Perry O'Ryan Financial Advisors division of the business.
Great. And you've been there for 6 months or something now?
Almost, probably 5 months now, yeah.
Wow, cool. And then where were you before that?
I was at ANZ for almost 5 years.
Yep.
Prior to that, I was at a small boutique financial planning firm before that.
So in total, in the financial planning profession, you've been there how long?
7 years.
And you've managed your career really well. You're very engaged with the Association of Financial Advisors. You're involved in the committee in Queensland. You've won awards through there.
I just received a MetLife Professional Progress Grant for women, which was really, really awesome. And then in July this year, I think it was June or July, I received a Distinguished Service Award with the Financial Planning Association, which was a Distinguished Service Award in relation to my commitment to their foundation, Future 2.
So we are in very, very capable hands and someone that, you know, obviously has done really, really well in their career to date. And so hopefully we can bring some of that to life. So I'm just going to quickly post a poll of the questions that I just want to post this poll. These are the sorry, ignore that poll. I did the wrong poll then. I just want to post a poll on what we're going to cover today. And this has made a liar of me here. So we're just not gonna, sorry guys. No, I don't, the poll question is not working. So we're gonna rattle through what the topics of today are gonna be, and then we're gonna sort of cover them off. And but basically, and we got some really good questions beforehand. So we want to, preparing for the job market was one, how to get an interview, sending in applications for and CVs, what to put on a CV and not, what research to do on a company, and how to build rapport in an interview. And we're not going to hear from me because I talk about that all day, every day. We're going to hear from what you think Cara would do. We got sent some great questions around how long should a CV be and so forth, but there's also a chat room here, which everybody's starting to use already. So just jump in there and ask any questions. And one of the questions already, like, you know, is this just for young students or is it for career changes as well? This is definitely about career changes. This is definitely about new entrants into the profession and how to stand out. So I want to start with, and if you want to change the direction of what we're talking about, throw some chats into that chat room. So the first question I'm going to ask is, how would you recommend somebody new to financial planning, whether they're straight out of university as an undergrad at 22 years old or a career changer coming into it, what do you think the first thing they should do around preparing themselves for the job market?
Great question. And it's kind of one that you think, where do I begin? Because there's just so many things that you're probably considering in terms of building up your knowledge or your networks or study, anything like that. One thing that's really worked well for me from the start was just getting out there, getting to know what the profession is about. So really understanding what it is our community and our advice community does. Understanding why you're interested, I think that's really important. Figuring out what it was that attracted you to this type of profession, this type of industry. And then getting out there and really getting to know people, building a network. So that was something I've always done really massive on just asking people for a chat. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I've always said, I might meet someone at an event, get in contact with them in the following days, and then ask them, can I have, half an hour of your time, an hour of your time, buy them a coffee and just pick their brain. From that, you learn real stuff. I mean, obviously education and qualifications is very important. So building up that, because you need to have a set standard of skills, but just knowing real life situations and people's stories and how they got into it, what they're struggling with at the moment, what they love about it. Finding out all of that information, I've found personally really, really powerful.
So I know that when we've talked to people about networking, people go like gasp and go, oh, networking. It's like one of those big fears is like spiders and clowns and public speaking. But like for people who are not so great with this networking thing, like what's some tips? Firstly, we'll talk about some forums they can attend, but what's some tips to people, what they should do in some sort of environment where they should be networking?
Yeah. I've always had the sort of idea, get comfortable being uncomfortable. I mean, my first big networking thing was going down to the FBA conference, and I was a student member. I didn't know anybody, but I just threw myself in the deep end. Yeah, I was really, really nervous, and at the same time didn't probably know what I was talking about. But I think
you're faking it till you're making it. Is that what you do?
Pretty much. But I mean, people understand you're a student. You're not going to know everything, or even if you're not a student, you're a bit later in life, it's a career change. You're not meant to know everything about financial advice or the profession straight up. But do a bit of research, I think, before, so you go in with a bit of confidence. I think a lot of people get scared of networking because they think, well, what if I don't have anything to talk about, or what if the conversation's awkward? I always go in with a question, or ask someone their opinion. So what do you think of X, or where are you up to with the education changes, or just have something to talk about in common.
What about small chat questions, small talk questions? Like, what's your icebreaker?
I always love asking people or where they are at the moment, why they got into financial advice. I love that question. It kind of opens up the conversation a lot more. Why they're working where they are at the moment, how did that come about, and why is that a good fit for them?
Yeah.
What they love about the industry, profession, all those kinds of open questions I always ask people.
So I just want to go back to your first day in this industry, like that first job you got in the industry. How did you get that interview? How did you remember? Yeah. Yeah,
great question. I had no idea what financial planning was, to be honest. So I actually left school, started a social work degree, did a year of that, decided that wasn't for me and took a year off. In that year off, I went from part-time to working full-time at Fitness First as a senior receptionist. And it got to a point in time where I'd enrolled back into uni for the following year to do a business degree, so quite broad, didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I was really ready to move on from Fitness First. So I was looking for a job that I thought was a bit more corporate, something that I could use skills in with my business degree.
Yep.
And I had a friend who had her boss at the time had just left Westpac, started up his own business, and he needed someone to help him out on the administration side of things. So I thought, how hard can this be? Budgeting, cash flow, bit of this, bit of that. Didn't really know what financial advice was. And I said, yep, let's take it. So I had one day where I went in, and after that day, I got the job. And
hang on a second. You were working in a customer service role, and somebody identified you as a good customer service operator, and from that you ended up with a job interview and a job.
Correct. Yeah.
So you didn't go through Seek?
No.
You didn't do online digital warrior applications to a million places and hope to God it worked?
No, and it was funny because the first day, it was basically what I was trying to do, what I was doing that day was ringing super companies, ringing insurance companies, gathering information. And at the end of the day, my then manager said, yep, you've got the job. And I said, do you want my CV and resume? And he's like, why would I want that? And it was really funny because I thought, because I was trying to be all serious. Obviously, it was from where I come from, a very corporate sort of environment. So I didn't even give him my CV. I was really lucky, and I'm always very grateful for that opportunity that he's given me.
Yeah, so there's another example too of kind of networking, but also demonstrating I'm for that too. Like, I think about people that I know in my day-to-day life, and who, like, you know, the guys downstairs that work in the Vodafone, the lady that works in the coffee shop, and the way that they look after me and the service that I get. And I kind of always think, if I'm looking for people in my business, that's the sort of person I want, that really cares about the customer and stands out. So you've just gone in. I don't think most people that I speak to who are trying to get a job don't think that's how it's going to work. But most people I talk to that have got cool jobs, that's how it worked.
Yeah, I've never applied for, so fitness first, and then my 3 jobs in financial advice. I've never applied through Seek. It's never been a cold application. It's never been a job application on a website. It's always because of someone I've known or a connection I've built, or someone's put me forward or made an introduction when a job wasn't available. And then it's kind of, that job's become available off the back of those conversations. So yeah, and I think I put it down to networking and getting to know people and having that warm connection.
But also, kind of, you know, the fact that you were in that customer service role, and you were like a CV, right? A CV to me, it gets you the job interview, and then you get you the job, right? So you bypass that CV process because you were already demonstrating what they wanted to see.
Yeah.
You were able to demonstrate a customer service thing. So this is why, you know, I find so many people don't put the fact that they worked at Fitness First or McDonald's or something on their CV because someone's told them that it's not relevant, but it's the exact thing that got you the job.
It's so relevant. And I think the skills I learned through that kind of role, I mean, customer service, conflict management was a huge one. Just people skills and having a conversation, I think, as a, 18-year-old at the time, 18, 19-year-old, having conversations with adults. I know I was an adult, but adults all day, every day, it builds up your people skills, which at the end of the day, to me, financial advice is, the foundation is having a conversation with someone, getting to know about them. Like, I love that part of that job. And that transferable skill of just being able to have a conversation, having empathy, being able to deal with really difficult conflict or tricky situations. Yeah, it's so relevant. I still have it on my CV. Like, I kept it on it for this job, and I think it's relevant for sure.
Yeah, great. Great. So you heard it here first, people. Customer service roles in any sort of environment definitely should be on your CV. They are so relevant, and it's the real life stuff, right? So, okay, then the next question is a bit redundant then, because asking you what you should put on a CV when you only, you know, you've never really used a CV. But like, so let's put you in a hiring situation. Now you're in a business, and at some stage, and if it hasn't happened before, or have you been in the process where you've had to review CVs for people coming into the business you've worked in? Okay. So what do you think, though, at some stage in the not too distant future, I believe that you'll have a team around you and you'll be in the hiring process. What do you think you would look for as a hiring manager on a CV that you say you had 10 CVs come across your desk for this brand new associate advisor role working in your team, and you need to sort of pick 3 out of those 10 CVs, what would you be looking for?
Yeah. The formatting, to me, I think just a nice presentable document, I think actually speaks a lot for itself. What's on the CV? So like I said, experience, showing, being able to demonstrate past jobs, or what they've been able to do in their job. So, you know, a brief description of this is what I've achieved in that past job. I think that's quite cool. What they're studying at the moment. What I would look at, an email, like a professional email, not your one that you got in grade 6 and it's a Hotmail account. Just to have it presentable. I think building up that, how you're perceived before an interview is quite big. I don't know if, I mean, I'm sure a lot of businesses do, but your presence on social media, so they might look you up, and if something's on, you know, on your Facebook, things like that. So it doesn't stop at a document on your CV, I think.
Not now.
Things like that. I think doing something different. So you could have 10 CVs that everybody has the same qualifications or the same experience or the same study. What makes you stand out? So just a brief example, how I got the Fitness First job, that was on Seek, but it was also my local gym. So what I did was I submitted my thing on Seek, printed it out, went into the gym and said, can I please speak to the customer service manager?
Yeah.
And she gave me an interview right then. I was the only person out of 200 applicants that did that. So my point being, if you do see a job, sometimes it is hard with recruiters, but think outside the box. Maybe give the company a call or send them an email just saying, hi, I just applied for this job. Do you mind if you initiate that? Don't sit back and wait for them, because if you are in a pile of CVs, it is hard to stand out. It's just a piece of paper. And if you're all the same on that piece of paper, you're going to struggle. So do something different. Stand out from the crowd.
That is some of the best advice I've ever had anyone say in this sort of forum. That's amazing, because this is the experience that people have with online, the Seeks of the world, and they definitely have their place. So I'm not telling people not to use Seek. I think they should definitely use Seek. But both people looking for jobs and people trying to find people on Seek have a bad experience, because it's a numbers game, right? And they still have to do all the sorting, and they still have to do, and if you think about how most people apply for jobs on Seek, they'll go on there and they'll send off 20 job applications in a row, generic as they like, and away they go, which is probably another question that we could answer in a second. So as an employer, it's a harrowing look to see. I've just had, in the last hour, I had 73 job applications here, and I've got to work out who's legit, who they are, where they are, and all that sort of stuff. So it's you don't stand out being a desktop warrior sending CVs on.
And just to add to that, I think, to my point earlier, networking, catching up with someone for a coffee, if you're in the back of someone's mind and they think, someone comes up and says, oh, hey, and I've had someone ask me this recently, a business strategic advisor said, I want a you, but I want that person to be in New South Wales. Do you know anybody? So if you've just met up with people, you've had coffees, you've asked people about their journeys, not necessarily asking for a job, and something comes up, our industry is so small that everyone seems to know everybody. And when something like that, an opportunity comes up, if you've done something like that in the past and they know who you are and they know what you're looking for, you're more likely to go, oh, hey, actually, I do know Cara is actually looking for something just like what you mentioned. So yes, a CV is very important. Yes, applying through jobs on Seek is great because it shows you what's out there, but I think you need to do a lot more than that. You need to get out there and network.
So you mentioned it earlier. So we've got CVs and we've got this extreme face-to-face networking, and there's this thing of social media sitting in the middle. And yesterday I did a 10 LinkedIn crash courses with some people. Some of them are on the line today. But so what is it about that you think people should be getting? Obviously, cleaning up, your Facebook, experiences at the rave parties and stuff. We should clean that up. But what is this? What are some of the proactive things people can do on social media, specifically LinkedIn, I guess?
Yeah, I got into LinkedIn really early, and by early I mean within the first year of my role as a financial planning assistant.
So once you'd already had a job.
Yeah. But I didn't know what profession I was moving into when I got the job, so. I didn't really prepare it, but I think having that set up, and every student I talk to at your events, I say to them, do you have LinkedIn? Let's connect, let's chat. So building that sort of online presence, engaging, so commenting or having a look at different people's articles, just get involved. I think LinkedIn's really powerful for that, and sharing your own ideas. Don't be afraid to share an article you might read and you think, oh, that's cool, and ask people what their thoughts are. People will engage. I think, you just got to be bold.
Yeah, cool. And building rapport was one of the questions, but I got to ask a couple of questions. So we might go down this one. Like, how do you think that people should personalize a CV per job they apply for, per company, and how should they do that?
Well, that's a great question. I think the CV is pretty, clinical, I guess, with the facts and all of that. How to personalise it would be a cover letter, I would say, would be something that I would do if that was the way I was going about it.
Yep.
Or following up with a personalised email with a bit of the same thing you put in a cover letter, I'd say.
Okay, if there's any questions, just throw them in the chat room and on the page, and we'll answer them. There was another question here about researching a company. You mentioned it too, that doing some research before. If you were to go to a job interview, right? What my experience is, the hardest thing is getting the job interview. One of the hardest things getting the interview. And so you don't want to go to an interview and just bomb it, right? Or you want to make sure that you're getting better and better and better. And one of it's about doing some research on I'll just leave it as on the job interview. What research would you do in preparation for a job interview?
So I obviously just went through this. I'm at the business I am at the moment. I've been here for 5 months. I took a lot of time and care in researching not just Perry Orion, but other businesses I spoke to. So I was probably on my search for my next move or figuring out where I belonged from about September, October last year. Between October and probably about March this year, I spoke to, and not necessarily every business I spoke to was actually had a high position or a job available. I probably spoke to about 12, 13 businesses.
Right.
Of that, maybe 6 of them were actually offering roles.
Yep.
I did my research because I didn't take that lightly. I've worked so hard to get to a point where I now know what I want. And so I went into every meeting, every phone call, every conversation with, this is what I want. I've obviously looked into what you're about, what your whys are, what your values are. And the purpose of this is obviously to figure out if that aligns, because if it doesn't align, then what's the point? You're not going to have job satisfaction. You're not going to do a good job. The things I researched, so I just researched the structure of the company, what kind, do they specialize in a particular niche market or area? The business structure. So for example, here we have different divisions of the business, including accounting. We've got broking, financial services, general insurance, and financial planning. So every single business, and I can tell you right now, every business I spoke to is completely different.
Yeah.
So it's not one business and the same layout for everybody in this profession. It's so different, and you need to find what fits for you. So looking at what their company structure is like, their experience within the business, the people, culture, and having that conversation about a why.
And what about the research on the person that is interviewing you?
The person that is interviewing you. See, I haven't probably gone that. I would have looked at their experience, where they came from. If we had common ground.
How would you do that?
Things like that, but not too in depth.
How have you conducted this research?
LinkedIn, their website, looking at reviews, advisor ratings,
Google posts.
video.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you go and do a full sort of LinkedIn stalk of the people that are interviewing you and who they are and who they're licensed through and what their customers say and their Google reviews and things like that? Yeah. Cool. I think that's probably one of the biggest, not the mistakes, because a lot of people do research, but I generally talk about doing research that's sort of 360 degrees, like who owns the business, is the business, who are the people I'm talking to, what is the service they provide, who are their competitors, and then who are their customers, right? So then if you have that sort of view, and then understanding the key people in the business, and if you can do that, then people are really, really proud of the businesses that they work for or they own or they build and so forth like that. And if you don't spend the time doing that research, which is so easy today, right? It's so easy to just do some searches and drop some names into Google and LinkedIn and so forth. If you haven't done that research, you're really not giving yourself the best chance, because people really appreciate it when you know a little bit about them. Don't go over the top and, end up really sort of going, oh yeah, no, I know where you live and you've got a brown dog, and like that's gone too far, right?
I think, and to that point, Al, I think what I've always been big about is I find it really awkward and it's cringeworthy if you sit in an interview and you quote every single thing on their website. Don't do that. That's just awkward. And also, what does that even mean? Like, you're telling them what they know. So what I've done in the past is obviously, okay, I've seen what you're about, this is what you do, and then find a way to build that into the conversation of how that actually relates to you. Because at the end of the day, they're not having a meeting with you so you can tell them about them. They're asking about you. So figure out, and that was really big for me throughout this process, is figuring out fit. So how did I fit into your business? And then asking them questions so that we can find that common ground and just have a conversation. Don't be stalkery. That's weird.
So yeah, that's what I meant. You said it better than me. The question that I've got here that came through overnight actually was, how do you build that rapport in an interview without it kind of coming across sort of, a bit
Be authentic. I think
Great word.
be yourself. Just yeah, be real. I think. I mean, I sat in an interview, and it was awkward, but I knew straight away within the first 5 minutes this business was not for me. So I didn't force it. Like, what would be the point of me trying to force the conversation? But building rapport, I think, kind of you know when you know. I think it happens naturally if you just get along with someone. But yeah, authentic would be my main buzzword.
Cool. I think that's great. And then, like, one of the other questions that came in is like, how much should I talk in an interview? What's your sort of, I guess it's the same thing with your clients, right? You're seeing people all day, every day. Do you sort of think about the ratio of how much you're talking compared to how much they're talking? And is that an important thing? And do you think about that?
Yes, but I don't overthink it. I think just let it happen naturally. Asking open questions instead of closed questions to get them talking. I was always massive on asking the interviewer or the manager or whoever questions.
What was your favorite question?
Oh, I had so many of them, but mainly for me at this stage in my career was about the future of their business, how they felt about the niche market I was wanting to look into. Those kind of questions were simple for me.
Okay, so if you were starting out in your career and you had one question to ask, when the interviewer says, "Have you got any questions for me?" and this is your first career job, what would that question be? This is the big part of this webinar. What's your one question you would recommend everybody listening put up their sleeve?
One question. I would ask why they got into financial advice.
Or into the role that they're in. They might be in HR or they might be in a bigger division or something. Like, how do they get into there?
I think that tells you a lot about someone and about the business and the position they're in. I think that really opens up the conversation. And it makes them think. It's probably a question that a student or someone new coming to the business would ask them every day. Why they're in that role.
My advice on that one's generally something a bit opening where they can sell the role to you. So it's sort of like, what type of people do you tend to employ in this organisation? Yes. Because then that gets them talking about what you've spoken about over that time, and hopefully they end up selling them. We look for people that, you know, like adventure sport and are outgoing and like a bit of networking and are good fun. And you go, oh, well, that's me, you know. So I like to think that that's a really good way to answer that question. It's normally towards the end of an interview. Hey, look, we've just wrapped up 29 minutes. So I'm just going to wrap this up quickly, Cara. But look, thank you so much for giving us your time. You are really involved in the profession. People reach out to Cara Williams on LinkedIn. I'm sure she'd be happily engaged with you. I really appreciate your time, and you're doing an amazing thing. I'm really happy for you, and the profession needs more people like you. So congratulations on that, Cara. And if anybody wants any help sort of getting their first career role, striver.careers, I'll send you a link to that. We'll get this recording subtitled and put on YouTube and sent out to you. And so that'll all happen. So thank you very much for your time, Cara. Thank you very much for the participants for coming on board, and we look forward to supporting you.
Good luck, guys.
Cheers.